We see these kinds of headlines all the time. A lottery winner running through their earnings, a celebrity on the edge of bankruptcy after making it big. But chances are you'd probably also still be broke even if you won the lottery. I used to see these stories and think that they were just extreme examples of the most financially reckless people, until I saw it happening around me. A few years ago, I had my own lucky break. The company that I worked for went public, and I made a small but meaningful amount that fast-tracked my finances. I made a video walking through it, which I'll link down below, but what I didn't share is that what I made was just a fraction of what some of my coworkers walked away with. They were more senior, they had been at the company for longer, and that meant higher salaries, more equity, and a bigger check at the IPO. Some of my friends, and we were all in our 20s at the time, walked away with over $500,000. But even though they got a bigger head start, not much has changed today. Many are still stuck in jobs that they hate, worried about layoffs, and wondering if they'll ever be able to leave their 9-to-5. So in this video, I wanted to share 4 warning signs that you might do the same, the psychology behind why these things happen, and what you can do instead to make the most of a lucky break. Mistake number 1, you're looking for the wrong gamble. One of the downsides about the ways that our brain works is that we're really bad at understanding fractions. When it comes to how we make decisions, we look at potential wins and losses, but we ignore our odds of actually winning. We also make these decisions one at a time and with a lot of emotion. The bigger the prize, the bigger the pull. It's part of what behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky called prospect theory. But the shortcoming in the way that we think becomes a huge problem when it comes to figuring out what opportunities we should take and what we should leave behind, especially when it comes to managing money. We look for exciting numbers, the multi-million-dollar prize that we're used to seeing in the headlines, but forget that only a small number of people end up winning those games. Take the lottery as an example. The average American spends over $320 a year on lottery tickets. That is more than what they spend on books, movies, and concert tickets combined. But these games are not charity organizations. The average player loses $119 in the same period. But while we're busy trying to spot those moonshot bets, we put our blinders on and ignore better opportunities that have a smaller prize, but a much higher chance of winning. After our company went public, I watched people go after those types of big bets, ride the meme stock craze, get involved with MLM companies, or gamble on prediction markets instead of putting money into less exciting but more historically consistent investments like the S&P 500 or starting their own business. The solution here is to zoom out and to think in aggregates. Buying a single lottery ticket feels tempting because that billion-dollar prize carries a ton of emotional weight, even though the chances that you'd win are low. But if you zoom out and think about repeating that choice many times, like buying 1,000 tickets, the math forces you to see the expected return and not just the fantasy of the prize. Number 2, you're playing the wrong game. There are 2 games that you can play to measure your financial success, and one of the main reasons people tend to drop the ball on a lucky break is because they're playing the wrong one. They're playing the status game, where we're all trying to one-up each other and keep up with the Joneses. I really like how Naval Ravikant writes about this. He says that the problem is that to win at a status game, you have to put someone else down. The status game is based on competition, and it has a hierarchy. So for you to gain status and, for example, move from number 4 to number 3 has to fall out of their slot. And if you want to move up again, number 2 has to fall out of theirs, and on and on. One of the main ways that we signal status is through our spending habits. How new our car is, the brand of clothes we wear, the size of the apartment that we live in, and importantly, how those compare to what everyone else around us has. It's everything that you can see and compare yourself to, using other people as the benchmark for what you should have. As an example, if everyone around you is buying a new Mercedes, you would also need to buy a new Mercedes if you want to keep up. The issue is that the status game never ends. But the other game, the wealth game, isn't about what everyone else is doing. In fact, it's about all the things that you can't see, the things that are going on behind the scenes. It's the money going towards investments, the business that you're building on the side, the classes that you're taking to learn new skills, the things that don't look exciting now, but that buy you freedom to live on your terms later on. The trick here is to make sure that you're choosing the right game from the start. Rather than playing one that builds up your credit card bill to impress other people, choose one that builds up your investments instead. Mistake number 3, you believe you need more to start. I'll never forget what one of my coworkers said after our company went public. We were watching the bell go off, and he turns and says, "It's a nice chunk of change, maybe a few nice vacations and a new car, but it's not going to change my life." He had just made $200,000. Of course, $200K by most measures is a lot of money, especially considering that the average salary in the US is about $64K. But he's right in some ways. It wasn't enough to quit his job, at least not the next day. Still, that conversation stuck with me because it revealed something something deeper about how we think about money. It's an example of what psychologists call present bias, and it causes us to go for immediate rewards over far off and hard to imagine ones that are in the future. It is also an example of how bad humans are at understanding nonlinear growth. Take this puzzle, known as the pond and lily pad problem, and see if you can get the answer right. So imagine that a lily pad doubles in size every day and covers a pond in 48 days. On what day is that pond half covered? Most people guess day 24. The actual answer is day 47. And here's the point. While that $200,000 might not have been his ticket out of his day job that year, if he had put it into an investment that compounded over time, something like the S&P 500, after 10 years, he could have had $518K. After 20 years, it could have grown to $1.3 million. And after 30 years, it could have been $3.5 million. That single investment could have been his entire retirement plan, all without needing to invest another penny. I've seen so many examples of people believing that they need more to start: a higher income, a more stable job, a bigger cash out. And that mindset tends to stick even as we earn more and more. But history shows us that it's time in the market that matters most, and whatever we start with can snowball into life-changing amounts if we give it the time to grow. Mistake number 4, you think you won't change. Imagine for a moment what you were like when you were 5, what you liked to do, what you wanted to be when you grew up. Chances are your life is probably quite a bit different from that dream now. Maybe you traded the playgrounds for nights at the movies, dino nuggets for sushi, or your dreams of becoming a firefighter for a career in marketing. Looking back, it's easy for us to see just how much we've changed. But when it comes to planning for the future, we tend to think that the person we are today is the person that we will always be. Psychologists call this the end of history illusion. We struggle to imagine that we might discover a new industry that's completely different than the degree that we studied so hard for, that starting a family might make our dreams of becoming an executive totally vanish, that one day we'd get tired of working at a job that we currently love. But pivots cost money. Things like switching careers, going back for a degree, having kids, and then staying home with them all come with a price tag. And the more money you have, the more options you then have to navigate change the way that you want. The key here is to embrace the reality that you'll change your mind and you'll do it over and over again. And even though you don't know exactly how you'll change it, building enough wiggle room into your finances will make it easier to get what you want in the end. Knowing will change isn't a risk of planning, it's the entire point. So those are 4 signs to watch out for to make the most of your lucky breaks. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.